Alright guys, it is 15 degrees outside today, so instead of working on a project, I'm going to be walking you through how I do a much needed shop upgrade. So this is not an advertisement. I picked up this Vevor diesel heater off of Marketplace. Somebody else planned on installing it, didn't follow through, so we're going to see how it works out in here, and I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. This is not a tutorial either. It is just how I decide to do the installation. Let's get to it. So first thing first, just to be safe, I've read some other complaints online that these things have leaked directly after installation, so especially getting this thing off Marketplace, I'm going to open it up, just take a look, make sure none of the hose connections are falling off or something else I don't know about going on. Cap's got to come off. Alright, let's take a look at what we've got going on inside here. Alright, looks like we've got fuel tank hose. These guys all feel fairly well connected right now. Apparently that doesn't bolt down. Then, just got some clips going down to the heater. Actually, that all looks pretty good to me. Now, that is not the only source of heat we have in here. I do have a 220 comfort zone heater. Now, that's been on low for about 3 or 4 hours now. I'll come out early in the morning, turn it on. It is 41 on the floor. That heater likes to get the ceiling up there a little bit better. Let's see if I can show you that. So, 62 degrees up there. Fortunately, I mean, it's great if you've got all the time in the world to let that thing run. I don't let it run all night, but just all the steel, concrete slab, stuff doesn't heat up out here, and I don't like wearing gloves while I work. So, touching cold metal isn't fun. You can see we got a nice snowy winter out there. Alright, so the next step is figuring out how we're going to run this heater exhaust out, and I'm thinking that I don't want to commit to a hard installation yet. I want to see how this thing goes. I don't know if I'm going to want it long term on that window or that window. So both those windows are the same. I think we're going to start with just making a window mount. Probably why these things aren't square anymore. Underneath it, just to kind of get it about where I'll go. We can go a little bit oversized actually on this, just to make sure it's going to fit. Ooh. Alright, so this is kind of how I'm hoping this is going to work. I want to wrap this, but I want it to have a nice flat edge because we need to layer another piece of plywood on it. So what I'm hoping to do is just kind of pull this thing straight. Pull it straight, alright, you can see it's going to end right about there. And then cut this piece down so it's easier for me to work with because I want to glue and nail it on. I don't really know if this is the right or wrong way, but hopefully it works. Alright, now we've got the nail gun loaded with some staple gun loaded with some 1/2-inch staples. Hopefully that will stay on there. I mean, if this thing survives a winter, I'll be pretty happy, actually. Okay, so we've got a lot of excess stuff to deal with here. I think I'm going to end up trimming this back quite a bit. Okay, so now that I've got roughly... See, I made a little oopsie there and cut the wrong dimension twice. But got center marked out to get that guy lined on, so now all we're going to do is do a little bit of glue. I don't have to go... Well, I'm going to go nuts with it. But... just try and make that thing sit as nice as possible. That's never coming apart. Okay, so now theoretically, if I line up at the minimum these two, and then get this guy to sit next to that guy. Nice! Probably help if I had an air hose hooked up to that. Beautiful. Alright, so now I want to make it so we can get our air inlet through there. So this larger diameter there is 1.5 inches, so I'm going to use a hole saw for that. But just so I don't tear out both sides, I've already marked where I want it to go. Perfect. And if it doesn't line up perfectly, it's not going to be a big deal. Okay, so that goes on the wall outlet side. This comes on the inlet side. So if we pop that guy down, nice. We're going to have a good, clean fit. Drill either side of that. So again, we'll just start off. Perfect. All right. All right. The cool part is, now that all this is here, we've more or less wrapped up the window insert. Now, I had zero intention of turning this into a fabrication video, but in its previous position, I really wasn't happy with where the diesel heater was going to be next to the chop saw with the dust it creates, yada yada, so I decided to move it to the opposite side of the garage, which was going to require a custom mount, which I'm going to be making. So now this is 100% overkill, but you can see I've got it mocked up so our holes are going to mount into the heater there. Now we just have some welding to do. Alright, we could work around this thing, but actually it rolls. Alright guys, it's the next morning in the shop. As you can see, my gloves are on. It is a nice 35 degrees inside, 11 degrees outside. Now, it's great that it's the next day because when I fire this thing on for the first time, I do want to be out here and babysit it, but also I'm going to refrain from turning on my heat so we can just measure how effective is this thing. Now, before we do that, this was never meant to be a fabrication video, so I'm going to breeze over the next part here, but I forgot. To make that thing run, we need a 12-volt battery. And unlike the spot I was thinking about putting it over before, I don't have a nice and easy shelf to stick it on over here. So I put the drill press back in place because I wanted to see, you know, what kind of space I'm working with here. I did not want to put the battery directly below the heater just in case it leaks diesel on it. But we've got to whip up another shelf real fast. So I don't think I really want to get back out the welder for this one. So we're going to see what we can bolt together. Alright, well I skipped over to the construction of the shelf brackets, more or less, because they're not really important to setting up the diesel heater. You can put your battery wherever you want it to. Basically, I built them in two sections here because I've got this conduit that I want to be lower against, so I want to be able to slide them over before I bolt it all together. Now, I used a swag press to do this, and I'm still learning really how to bend metal and get the angles that you want, so it's a little bit sloppy, but we're going to throw this thing together real fast and see how it turns out. Oh, perfect. That's gonna do it. Alright, now off camera I went ahead and foil taped all around the window, just kind of minimize some of the heat loss going on. There's definitely, I can feel cold air coming through still, but I think that's gonna be as good as it gets. So, I think we're ready to start putting this diesel heater together. Finally. Alright. Now the nice part about this setup is I'm still able to get those back switches, so I think I'm going to be actually able to take the top off with it mounted, which is nice because I do want that top off when I run it for the first time. So then I just throw some 1/4-inch bolts on and lock the heater to the frame. Alright, then let's start with our exhaust. So the exhaust is on this side unit. Put it in there. We're a little bit long now. I do want to minimize the curve, so a long slope, water is going to come out of the exhaust or condensation. So going down, do want a little bit of slope. I think about right in here is where I'm going to want to be. So I've got the exhaust hose on. Now, lesson learned, do not cut the exhaust hose to make it smaller. This flange is wider than the rest of the hose, which I knew, but I kind of figured I'd just be able to shove it on. It's a real pain in the butt. Then for our air inlet hose, and they do not put these things in an easy place to get to. Alright, so you'll notice I got the cover off the unit so we can watch when it runs, and then I also took this front LCD screen off the front of the unit and moved it down here so I'm going to be able to see when this thing's running. So all that took was moving the wire that went from up there down there and then using the tap screws to go in there. Alright, now all that's really left on this thing is to wire the unit to the battery. So let's throw some ring terminals on there. Alright, let's put some gas in this thing. The real bummer is I don't think I'm going to be able to fill this thing up without my ladder in the future. Oh, and that's what I thought would happen. So, I am a bit of a hoarder collector. And when I saw these gas cans on the side of the road... Are you kidding me? I don't like the new gas cans. I really thought these would be useful. Turns out there is a reason they were on the side of the road. They all leak. Oh, very nice. No, it leaks too. Why does everything leak? Probably because you found them on the side of the road. Gosh damn it. Alright, gas can and nozzle configuration number 3. Oh, finally. One that doesn't leak. Alright, well, we've got our fuel inside. Now, I'm not exactly sure about startup instructions. The booklet isn't very clear, but I did notice there's a little bit of fuel down on the end here already, so I'm wondering if they prime it before they leave the factory, so... Alright, cold air starting to blow out. Just we'll let it sit here for a minute and see what happens. Now, at the moment, let's see, in the garage, I have not had the heater on at all today, so 41 degrees in here. It is, I think, 14 outside. And CO2 level 0, 43% relative humidity. Let's just see what happens. I can see this fuel starting to come down the hose. I'm not seeing any leaks yet. Fan's picking up quite a bit. Still cold air blowing in. So we're blowing warm air now. Feels great. The one thing I am noticing is that the heat shield sock, quite a bit of smoke coming off of that. And you can already see burn marks starting to appear on it. So I think what we're going to do is just cut that off. Nothing around here is in danger of catching on fire. Alright, the heater's been running for just over an hour, and the CO2 alarms haven't gone off. Say alarms because I was not so trusting the one I just bought, and I brought out one that I know works. Don't ask me how. But neither has gone off. And we are up a total of 10 degrees in about an hour and 20 minutes. In comparison, it took my electric heater 6 to 8 hours to do the same yesterday in a similar outdoor setting. Now, con side, it's going to be annoying to climb up there and put in diesel, but if it's only every 8 hours and it keeps me warm, I'm going to deal with it. I'll add an auxiliary tank if I need to. Otherwise, there is an audible ticking noise while that fuel pump is running. Personally, it doesn't bother me at all. I could work all day with that thing going. But, hey, if you're shooting video and your camera's picking it up, yeah, it might be a little bit annoying. And maybe it's time to move the heater outside if that's the case. But for what I've got going on, I think this is going to be absolutely fine. I need to run with it a few more weekends, just going all day and see what I think. But otherwise, I'm happy with it.